I have learned something from Evansville. It's been a great thing since I've come down here and met so many of you wonderful people. And the phrase, it's a catchphrase that you've heard, a lot of you have heard, and I use it now, and it's called freedom maker or freedom taker. You're either a freedom maker or you're a freedom taker. And each one of us, when we go to vote, we either are people who are going to vote in freedom makers or freedom takers. And so it's very important for us to know the candidates and make sure that we pick people that are freedom makers. Now, there are enumerated laws in our Constitution. Have any of you wondered lately, why are they doing that in Washington? That's unconstitutional. I've wondered that a lot. Why are they doing that? That's unconstitutional. So it's very important for us as individual citizens. We need to decide, do I want to, and you need to listen to what I'm saying, we need to decide, do I want to live under the Constitution, the greatest form of government, the greatest document ever written, or do I want to sit back and allow them to go ahead and just do what they want? Do I think it's too big? It is not too big. When they came and founded this country and they looked out and they saw all the Indians in the vast wilderness, it was big, okay? We've been there, we've done that, we've got the t-shirt, we can take it back. We just have to be willing to do it. So we have to decide, I think Dan was talking, or no, Jim was talking, you were saying, do I want to sit and watch the TV or do I want to get out and keep my freedom? We're talking about a fight for your children, your grandchildren, for our posterity. And if we're not willing to fight for that, it won't be there for them. And I know you people love your children and grandchildren, so you want to fight for that. Leaders lead based on their moral conscience. Right now, I think we've got a bunch of leaders in Washington that don't have a moral conscience. I do. And I think that's a lot of why we're seeing some of the things, yeah, they've got padded bank accounts. So you need to make sure that when you look at your candidates that you consider their moral values and where they stand in those positions. Again, I believe that the Constitution is the greatest document that was ever written for a form of government. And I honestly believe that when a bill comes through, if it's unconstitutional, if it's tagged with earmarks, if it has anything in it that's going to raise the taxes or harm the people in a negative way that is unconstitutional, it just gets killed and you rewrite the bill. And I remember a previous representative that we had that felt that same way. If a bill comes through and it's unconstitutional, just kill it and rewrite it when it's constitutional. So that's something we need to get back to. They need to leave us alone. They need to leave us alone. They do.
The judicial system is working for themselves.
Yes.
They do not understand rule of law. Our judicial system does not understand rule of law. They're working for themselves. They argue law now on case law.
Yes.
What happened last time? How did that judge rule last time? That's how I'll rule today. That is not rule of law. They got it all wrong. We need to change it.
May have our next 2012 representative right there. He's exactly right though. They're running on precedents, and that's not the way that our republic. We've got the rules there. We just need to follow them. So essentially, I really want to open, because the last time I was here, I didn't give you guys time to ask questions, and I want you to have the opportunity to ask questions. And I want you to understand that my motivation for running for this office is not because I want to get rich on the back of the taxpayers. We do have some, in fact, I know of a representative that was in there for 34 years, and he's a millionaire, and he's a millionaire because of taxpayer dollars. And that's literally the truth, and he's in the Bloomington area. And that's not my goal. That's not my goal. I'll tell you what my goal is. Essentially, my goal is this: to get in there for a period of time, and to, as someone said it earlier today when we were talking at the place that I was at earlier, we need someone who's just naive enough to go in there and say, why are you doing that? You can't. That's unconstitutional. That's me. Why are you doing that? You know, that doesn't look like that's going to be good for the people. Why are you doing that? That's me. I'm just that naive enough to go in and say, look, we have a law. We need to follow it. And so that's essentially what we need, are some people to get in there and shake things up. And that's where I see myself, going in there and shaking some things up.
How are you explaining yourself?
Do what?
How How are you at swimming with sharks?
Am I swimming with sharks? Yeah, I know. My dad just turned 83. My dad just loved my dad. And when we went, and I'll get you a second. When we went to tell my dad what we had prayed and sought the Lord on, he says, "You're gonna die." That's what I'm like, yeah, my husband, he was there. He's like, "You're gonna die," and he went back and read his book. I'm like, "Oh, thanks, Dad." Okay, go ahead.
If we do something that's unlawful, we have consequences to pay.
That's right.
Jail time, fines, whatever.
That's right.
If an elected official does an unconstitutional act, which is unlawful, what are his consequences or her consequences?
Right now, there isn't a whole lot of consequences because they've
Why
got,
not?
I'll tell you, they've got so much money, they cover over everything that they do. And that brings me to something that I wanted to mention. How many of you have heard of Bring Home the Politicians? Has anybody in here heard of Bring Home the Politicians? Okay, good, some of you have. Go online and look up Bring Home the Politicians. I was one of the early people to sign on with this idea of Bring Home the Politicians, and essentially what this does, it's for the representatives and senators. And what it does is it brings them home to the district and it gives them an office in the state capitol. And then you are allowed to work from the state capitol via teleconference. Now, once a year, which it says in our Constitution, January 3rd, you meet for assembly in Washington, D.C. And if there's some things that you need to deal with that you just have to be together, you can. But if I'm at home in Indianapolis participating in the Bring Home the Politicians and representing the district from there, I'm not going to have lobbyists pulling at my ear, because that's literally what they do. We were there and we saw people literally go from one office, come out, go to the next office, come out, and our representative said, "Hey, wait a minute, Kristi, I'll be right back. I want to talk to you, but I got to go deal with this." And I was like, "What's this?" But he wasn't going to tell me what this was. It was right before the health care vote, so we can assume what this was.